Hey guys, so I have another Magic the Gathering deck to talk to you guys about, and I call this deck the Venser deck because it's built around this creature slash planeswalker called Venser, and his main ability is to return something to your hand so they can reuse a creature, and that's really what the essence of this deck is to return things to my hand so I can keep reusing enter the battlefield effects and stuff like that. Or exiling them or phasing them out or whatever. Anyways, this deck has a lot of ways of triggering and re-triggering the enter the battlefield, leaves battlefield effects. So yeah, and it's a blue-white deck. And this is the second version. I've done a kind of analysis of the first version before, so I upgraded some cards. So we'll take a look at the upgraded version of this deck here. Alright, so first up I have a Planeswalker here called the Eternal Wanderer. It's probably the most expensive card in this deck at 6 mana. It says no more than one creature can attack at each combat. The first ability, exile an artifact or creature, and I return it to the battlefield under the owner's control at the next turn. That's one of the main things I do in this deck, is I basically want to phase something out, and it'll come back in and re-trigger an effect. And the second ability creates a 2/2, which is always nice, with double strike, actually, really even better. Does 4 damage. Essentially a 4/2 is what it creates. And then the ultimate ability is for each player, choose a creature that player controls, and each player sacrifice all creatures they control, not control this way. So yeah, the main ability is the one that's relevant to this deck. So yeah, where I kind of phase something out and re-trigger an ability. Okay, another card I have is Teferi's Moat, which will limit how the opponent can attack me. So basically this enchantment, yeah, when I play it, I choose a color, and creatures with of the chosen color without flying can attack me. Straight up just limits how the opponent can deal with me. You know, it's going to be very hard for them to attack me. If they're monocolor and they don't have flying, you know, good luck. GG. But they had to basically deal with this enchantment, right? If they're multicolored, well, still good chance that they'll be like really have a huge setback by, you know, this card. It's going to be very difficult for them to attack. Okay, Maze of Ith, really cool land here. So this land does not add mana. This is very rare for a land, doesn't add any mana. Instead, what it does is you can use it to prevent combat damage by a creature. So yeah, if they're attacking with anything, it doesn't matter, 30-30, like how big it is, it doesn't matter. You just use this land and they get untapped, and then yeah, all damage, combat damages is like prevented. So yeah, again, it's going to be very hard for them to do damage to me if I just, you know, use this land on them. So this can't add mana, unfortunately, but it's got such a powerful ability to it. Okay, Baron Tolarian Archmage. I think this is a recent addition. Yes, 3 mana for 2/2, and then when it enters the battlefield, I return one other target creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand. That's on either side, mine or opponent. And at the beginning of my end step, if a permanent was put into my hand from a battlefield, draw a card. That's pretty... yeah, that's pretty good, because I am the goal of this deck is to return stuff to my hand so I can replay it, and so it's very likely I'll be drawing cards from this guy, and him coming into the battlefield as well is going to trigger that effect too, and I can just keep on bouncing the opponent's stuff too as well as my own stuff. So just a overall very useful card for this deck. Fits in the theme very well. Okay, Rhystic Study, very annoying card for the opponent to deal with because 3 mana. And whenever an opponent plays a spell, that spell means anything, any creature, enchantment, artifact, you know, instant, sorcery, like anything that's not a land, right? Whenever they play something, they have to either pay 1 mana or draw a card. Like, this is probably one of the most, like, I would say this is one of the best commons in Magic history. Like, it's a common card. And this is such an incredible effect, basically. And it stacks too. If I have multiple of these out, they have to pay multiple mana unless they want me to draw a card. So either I draw a card, or their stuff costs 1 mana more. Either way, it's great for 3 mana. Like, it affects all their spells. That's pretty incredible. So that's a great card. Prevents the opponent from really doing anything, or gives me card advantage. So Charming Prince. So this is an example of a card. I want to have a card that has enter the battlefield's effects. So this one has pretty good enter the battlefield effects because I can choose. I can either scry 2, which lets me look at the top 2 cards in my deck, or gain 3 life, or I can exile another creature and return to the battlefield. So either I can phase a creature out so that I have another creature with enter the battlefield effects, I can trigger that, or I can gain 3 life, or I can just look at the top of my deck to kind of figure out what I have next. So either way, the fact I can choose between them is really nice. And this itself has enter the battlefield effect, which is good for this deck. Duplicate. So I have this card because, yeah, 6 mana, so it's not cheap, but when it enters the battlefield, I can exile target non-token creature for imprinting. And as long as the card exiled is the creature card has a power, toughness, and creature types. That doesn't matter too much. The main thing is when it comes into the battlefield, I get rid of something. Yeah, that's pretty important. So, like for example, if I use the third ability here to exile it, so I exile it, and it comes back, and it'll remove another thing, because the imprint triggers every time it enters the battlefield. So it'll remove something, and it doesn't, like it won't come back if this thing dies or leaves the battlefield. So basically, this enters the battlefield effect is just remove, exile a creature on the battlefield. So this is a removal tool. Yeah, whatever creature the opponent has, I can just straight up remove it with this thing, and I can keep on doing that because it triggers every time I enter the battlefield. So, yep. Propaganda, just a good card for preventing the opponents from attacking me. It's like just a good stall card. Yeah, 3 mana, creatures can't attack me unless the controller pays 2 for each creature. So if they have a large token army, good luck, you know. But it just really sets them back, right? They got to use mana to just attack me now. Restoration Angel. Yeah, this is a good card for this deck because 4 mana, 3/4, I can play it on the opponent's turn with flash and flying. But when it enters the battlefield, I can exile a non-angel creature and then return that to the battlefield. So this will trigger an enter the battlefield or leave battlefield effect, which is useful for this deck. Okay, Fog Bank, really good blocker card, I would say. So this card doesn't attack, it's just a 0/2 and it's a wall, but it doesn't receive any damage and it doesn't receive any combat damage. So I just put this out here, and it's really the greatest wall, one of the greatest walls ever, because I put it out and I can just block anything. I can block like a 20/20 and it won't take any damage. So yeah, it's unless they have trample, that's a different matter. But if they just have like a whatever creature, they won't deal damage to this thing. So it's a great stall card. Ooh, Parallax Wave. Yeah, this is another way of dealing with the opponent's creatures. So as Fading 5, there's 5 counters. I remove a counter to remove target creature from the game. And then when this thing dies, they get back their cards. So I can use this either on my creatures or on the opponent's creatures. I can do it offensively or defensively. If I use it offensively, I can actually remove my own creatures and have it trigger the enter the battlefield or leaves battlefield effects. I can use it defensively to remove the opponent's creatures. So either way, it's really good for this deck. Okay, Venser, that's what this deck is named after. So this guy, the reason why I named this deck after him, because he really embodies what I want to do with this deck. Just, I play him, and it says return target spell or permanent to its owner's hand. So, yeah. Basically, this is what I want to do with this deck. I want to have guys like this that have an enter the battlefield effect, and then it has something, you know, like, I can keep on replaying this guy, he'll get phased out or something, he'll return, and I'll keep triggering his effect. That's what I want to do with this deck, is to keep triggering the enter the battlefield effects. And his one is really useful because you can either return a spell, which means there's a counter, or just return anything to the hand, even the land. Really useful. Erratic Portal. So this is an artifact. It's just 1 mana, return target creature to its owner's hand unless its controller pays 1. Either can be used offensively or defensively again in this deck. I can either return my own creatures to my hand to replay them, or I can return my opponent's creatures through their hand if they don't have mana to pay the 1. Or, yeah, force them to pay the 1, you know. So it can be either used offensively or defensively. Really nice for this deck. And what else? Oh, yeah, Crystal Shard is pretty much the same as Erratic Portal. It's pretty much the same card. It just pretty much just costs 1 mana less. So if I look at Erratic Portal here, yeah, it's pretty much the same card. It just costs 1 mana less, and you have to use blue mana. Otherwise, same effect. You know, it's good to have multiples of the same effect in this deck. Venser the Sojourner. So this is a Planeswalker version of Venser. So his first one, exile target permanent I own and return it to the battlefield at the next step. That's exactly, you know, triggering the enter battlefield effects again. Creatures unblockable, and then you get an emblem, and emblems are pretty much impossible to remove. There's just rest of the game effects. Whenever you cast a spell, exile target permanent. Really powerful ultimate. So yeah, he's really essential to this deck. And that pretty much I named it Venser because this and the creature version are, yeah, exactly the central theme of this deck here. Okay, and Ether Channeler. So this guy has an enter the battlefield effect, which is pretty useful. I can either create a 1/1 with flying, or I can return a non-land permanent to its owner's hand, which will help either me, or I can use it either offensively or defensively in this deck, and I can draw a card. So all three of these are pretty useful. So I can keep on re-triggering his enter the battlefield effects, ideally. Wall of Omens, another one I can keep re-triggering the battlefield effects, right? So first of all, it's a good wall. 0/4, can block some good stuff. Enters the battlefield, draw a card. So I can phase it out, phase it back in, or I can replay it and draw a card each time. So that's nice. Good effect to reuse. I got a Jace Berlaran in here as a Planeswalker, so pretty cheap Planeswalker just for 3 mana. +1, each player draws a card, and -1, target player draws a card. The ultimate is Mill, but I don't really use it for the ultimate. Just get some good extra card draw in this deck. It's nice. Mana Web. So basically, when the opponent taps land for mana, they have to immediately add all they have to tap all their lands for mana. So I force them to use their lands whenever, like if they're going to use their lands, like use it for an instant or whatever on my turn, they have to tap all their lands. If on their turn in their first main phase or whatever, they have to tap all their lands and add it to the mana pool, essentially forcing them to use all their mana at one phase. That kind of, I think, would be disruptive to the opponent. So it's nice to be able to have a disruptive card like this. Detention Sphere, essentially like a better version of Oblivion Ring. It's just you add colored mana, but sure. It's you have blue mana here, but the difference between this and Oblivion Ring is that this will remove all of the permanents with the same name as that permanent, so it can remove multiple potential creatures and stuff. Potential, like just multiple potential stuff at once. So it's just a better version of Oblivion Ring because I splashed the blue for that. Okay, let's see what else I got here. Umbilicus. So yeah, this artifact will trigger every turn. Every player's turn, that player has to pay 2 life or return something to their hand. This is very annoying for the opponent, right? They got to pay 2 life or return something to their hand. For me, for this deck, it's actually an advantage potentially, so I can replay something to get it into the battlefield effect. So it's something that's almost an advantage for me, but disadvantage for the opponent. So that's always good to have that. Blood Clock, pretty much the same card. So it's pretty much the same effect, just with a different name. So that's so that I can run multiples. So yeah, I could just run more Umbilicus or more Blood Clock, but it's nice to have some variety. And they're pretty much the same card. They're just, they're different cards, but same effect. Yeah, just same thing with Ghostly Prison and Propaganda, right? This is the same card as Propaganda. It's just white version. Creatures can't attack you unless the control pays 2 for each creature that's attacked. Yeah, same card as Propaganda, just a white version of it. Jace the Mind Sculptor, good card here. So 4 mana and has 4 abilities. The first one is basically I can look at the top card of my deck and either put it on the top or bottom, so it's like a nice little library manipulation thing. Then 0, I have a Brainstorm. I draw 3 cards and I put 2 cards on top of my library. Really nice for getting what I want. The -1 is a Unsummon, returns a creature to its hand, which would be either offensive or defensive in this deck. And then the ultimate. So yeah, overall great card. Was very, very popular back in the day, and now I guess not as popular anymore. Okay, Blade Splicer. I use this one for Enter the Battlefield effect here, because whenever it enters the battlefield, I create a 3/3 with first strike, actually. So yeah, you can imagine every time this thing enters the battlefield, I get a 3/3 with first strike. So that's pretty good for just 3 mana. Clever Impersonator is another enter the battlefield creature here. This one enters the battlefield as a copy of any non-land permanent. So it can be an enchantment, it could be an artifact, it could be another creature, of course. So this one's pretty versatile. I can copy the opponent's creatures, the opponent's artifacts, or enchantments. And if I don't like it, I can just exile it out, and yeah, it'll come back as another thing, potentially. Glacial Fortress. Oh, this is a dual land because, mana fixing. Pretty good one. Glen Elendra Archmage. Okay, this is a good card. 4 mana for 2/2 flying, but 1 mana sacrifice it to counter target non-creature spell, and then persist. So basically, I can use this to counter non-creature spells, of course, and then it'll come back with a -1/-1 counter. The thing is, I can actually remove this if I return it back to my hand, or I exile it and it goes and comes back with one of my other effects. The -1/-1 counter is gone. That's right. So if I remove the -1/-1 counter, it'll just persist again. It'll come back and it'll get the -1/-1. If I find some way to phase it out, it'll come back without the -1/-1. So it's a way to abuse it, and I can keep using it to counter target spells, so that's good. Okay, Rashad Import, annoying card for the opponent, I'd say. So it doesn't add any colored mana, but I can use it to tap a land. So yeah, I would say an annoying card for the opponent because I can just use it to deny them mana, or even to prevent them from using abilities on their lands. So that's good. I have another card that's basically also Venser, but just a different art style, I think. Yeah, it's the same card as the other one, just different art style. Charm Prince again. Soul Ring, always have Soul Ring in all my decks. 1 mana. 1 mana, tap, add 2 mana. You know, it's such a no-brainer, great card. Grand Arbiter Augustin the Fourth. Okay. So it's 4 mana for 2/3, but then white spells you play cost 1 less to play. Blue spells you play cost 1 less to play. Spells your opponents play cost 1 more to play. Obviously, this makes it very difficult for the opponent to do anything, and then easier for me to do stuff. So it's a no-brainer to have a guy like this. Really useful. Scroll Rack. This one I'm deciding on whether I should keep this in the deck or not. Because this, while it's useful, basically Scroll Rack is, yeah, you pay 1 mana and you can choose any number of cards in your hand to kind of swap between that and the top of your deck. So it's really good for fixing your hand. I'm not sure if this or Sensei's Divining Top is better. Actually, I'm just deciding. Maybe Sensei's Divining Top is better for the library manipulation. Scroll Rack can potentially dig deeper, but you'll also get the same cards back eventually. So yeah, I'm on the fence about keeping Scroll Rack or not. It is a decent card though. It's good for fixing your hand at times, but on the other hand, like sometimes you just get those cards back eventually, right? So it's only like a temporary hand fixing thing. Okay, Gilded Drake. Another enter the battlefield creature, basically. So when it comes into play, I exchange control of Gilded Drake for target creature one of my opponent's control, or sacrifice Gilded Drake. Basically, you play this guy, and then I get any of the opponent's creatures, and we swap, basically. I get his creature, he gets Gilded Drake. But the thing is, if I return Gilded Drake to my hand, I get it back. Like, he doesn't own this card. I still own this card. He just gains control of it, right? So if I have a card like that Crystal Shard, for example, and I return it back to my hand, I get this card back, but I still keep control of his creature. So it's like I can use this repeatedly to gain control of all his creatures. So I play this, I gain control of his creature, he gets this thing, I return it to my hand, I reuse it again, and I keep gaining control of those creatures, right? I just get them. He doesn't get them back if this leaves the field. So yeah, pretty. This is this card that's very easily abused, and it's only 2 mana too. Yeah, so this 2 mana for 3/3s was supposed to be, this thing's supposed to be a drawback, but you know, you can turn this drawback into a strength in this deck. And last card I want to highlight is Equilibrium, which is a cool card. So 3 mana. Whenever I cast a creature spell, I can pay 1 more mana to return target creature to its owner's hand. So yeah, you can imagine this deck when I have a lot of enter the battlefield effects. That whenever I play something, I can pay 1 more mana, and I can just, and then it's any creature. It can be opponent's creature or my creature. I can either use it offensively, right, on my own creature, to replay it again, like that Gilded Drake, for example. Like, yeah, I can replay the Gilded Drake again, take another control of another creature, or I can use it defensively by returning the opponent's creature to their hand. So, anyways, very useful in this deck. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think. The theme of this deck is to keep on replaying enter the battlefield creature and effects, and also make it very hard for the opponent to attack me and stuff. So I think it's a nice blue-white control deck essentially for me. Yeah, let me know what you guys think.